glucose. So during photosynthesis, the plant is using carbon dioxide and water with the help of chlorophyll and sunlight to make or to produce glucose, which is their food, and oxygen. So let's focus on water. In order for the plant to do photosynthesis, they need water. Where does the water comes from? Here. What is the function of root hair cell? Answer: to absorb water and minerals. So the water used during photosynthesis comes from the water that is absorbed by the root hair cell. So now I have a question for you. How does the water be transported from the roots to the stem and leaves? Alright, now I have another question. It's about the glucose. During photosynthesis, the plant is making their own food, which is the glucose. Now the question is, how does the glucose be transported from the leaves to all parts of the plants? Because the glucose is needed not only by the leaves, but glucose is also needed by the stems and roots. So how does this plant transport the glucose from the leaves to all parts of the plant? These two questions are related to the objectives of our lesson today. We're going to learn about xylem, what's the function of xylem, and we're going to learn about phloem, what's the function of phloems. At the end of the lesson, you will know what are the answers for these two big questions. Okay. Now you can refer to your biology textbook on page 97. Okay. There's a small paragraph down at the bottom there which describes xylem. And on the next page, which is page 98, okay, the first sentence is describing about phloem. So you go and have a look, read the xylem and phloem, and then we will use these pictures or diagrams as reference. So here you can see this is the roots part of the plant, this is the stem and the leaves. Let's read one by one. Water and dissolved minerals are transported to the leaves and stem in xylem. Okay, the black one is xylem. water in the xylem. So the water from the roots is transported upwards to the stem, and the water will reach the leaves. Next, food in the phloem. Okay, food is the other tube in the phloem. Food made in the leaves is transported to the rest of the plants in phloem. Food made, meaning the glucose in the leaves, is transported to the rest of the plants in the phloem. So the leaves is doing photosynthesis, producing glucose. So the glucose will be transported using the phloem all the way down to the stem and to the root. Alright, let's say you have a stem. Okay, you go and get a stem of plant, and then you cut it off, and this is the vertical section of the stem. Now what you need to do is to view at the stem that you have cut off from the top. So look at the top view. Okay, your eyes is here. So you will see the tiny holes. It's more than one hole, tiny holes. Okay, when we enlarge one of these holes, just take one and enlarge it. Actually, it is made from many smaller tubes, and it is divided into two. This part is called xylem vessels or xylem tubes. The other half is made from phloem tubes. Alright, now let's go back to the learning objectives and the steps to success. The learning objectives is to state the functions of xylem and to state the function of phloem. In order to achieve this learning objective, there are 3 steps to success. Number 1, identify xylem and phloem. So we're going to do this one first. Now you could identify the xylem and phloem in the leaf structures. And previously, you have identified the xylem and phloem in the stem. So let's move back to steps to success. We have completed step number 1, and now step number 2 is to write down the function of xylem correctly, and the last step will be to write down the function of phloem correctly.
So now I'm going to bring you just around my house area to see if we can find a large plant that can show clear xylems.